We do have the thumbs up. We are going.
Perfect.
We're Once Bitten podcast. Take 2 on the pirate ship in the middle of an expo hall with Dusan from Amity Age.
Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to and super happy to have you here, Daniel. And it's been my pleasure. You were the first international podcast that I did years ago, and it's amazing to have a second take here in the pirate ship here in the BTC Prague, and to enjoy this place together.
Yeah, I think I understand the problem here because we keep facing each other. So maybe if we just talk right in the top. Look at us, we're amateurs.
Yeah, we're still learning. We're still learning, man.
We're still so early.
We're still so early.
Yeah, I remember you, mate, coming on the podcast, and you're blowing my mind with your passion. The projects that you had up your sleeve at the time, you were translating the Bitcoin Rabbi's book into Slovakian.
Yep.
And getting that book in the front of as many primary schools as you possibly could. And you wrote, to go alongside with the book, the instruction manual, basically, for the teacher how to deliver the lessons.
Exactly.
I.e. the curriculum. I was like, how old are you again? So how old
31.
Were you? But when you were doing that?
It was about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, so 28, 29.
Yeah, and I loved it, man. I loved the passion and everything. And everything you've done ever since. So fill in the blanks for me, because I don't know if that was your first foray into Bitcoin projects.
It was.
What about mining on pig shit? When did that?
That happened about 2 years ago, 3 years ago as well. So we were roughly at the same time. And what was happening there? You know, we started mining in Slovakia because my co-founder's mother-in-law, she owned a power plant, and it was a biogas power plant at the time. So we were using the cow shit and pig shit to burn it to create gas, to burn that to mine Bitcoin. So we are laughing that we are creating the real shitcoin there. So and then, you know, when shit hits the fan with electricity prices in Europe, and the war came in, we needed to move, and we went to Paraguay, where we are mining right now, and that's how we finance our education activities at this moment.
Okay, so mining in Paraguay also under attack, is it not?
Well, it was a couple of weeks ago. There seemed to be a ban proposal for mining in Paraguay, and the reason for that was there was a lot of illegal miners in Paraguay, and they were disturbing the grid. And what was happening there is that suddenly when you need to plan supply and demand of electricity, and there's suddenly a huge demand, huge consumption of electricity, it's very hard to maintain the grid. So there were risks of frequency changing, and there were risks, some of the traffic was actually blow up because of the bad management. So the local government said, you know, enough of this, we need to crack down on these illegal miners. So they start to take a lot of them. They were taking machines from them, and there was a huge hunt on miners. And there was a bill proposal to ban mining for 180 days until it's resolved. But the big miners were like, hey guys, we are official here, we are legal, we have everything that we need to have to mine here, so why would you ban us? And then a couple of the miners went to the government and explained to them, hey, this is how you benefit from using mining in Paraguay, because the reality is that the production cost is $22 per megawatt hour in Paraguay, but whatever they don't consume, they need to sell for $10 a megawatt hour to Brazil. But inside of Paraguay, the miners are willing to pay $40, $50 a megawatt hour. So it's a huge benefit for the country. So when suddenly the government understood it, they were like, okay, we don't want this money to just leave out. Rather, let's give out the energy to miners because we have so much of it, right? So suddenly, the narrative changed 180 degrees, and suddenly right now the government is actually thinking, is supporting Bitcoin mining, and there were actually a proposal to use Bitcoin as an experimental unit, not unit of account, but a legal tender in Paraguay. I was like, what the heck? So that's got a huge shift, right? We will see how that will go. But right now in Paraguay, the miners are enjoying the time. It's much better right now.
So they're still going to go after the unregistered, unregulated kind of under. What I'm worried about, I suppose, is the pleb mining.
Yeah.
You know, how much, illegal activity in air quotes?
Well, the illegality was mostly for the ones who were stealing the energy. So they weren't even paying for the energy.
I see.
They basically set up their operations behind the counter in a way, behind the meter, and they were just grabbing the energy and not paying anything for that, right? So this was kind of the biggest problem. Of course, government, they want to sell the energy, they want to get the money. So I kind of get it. That's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
But the pleb miners, they can still mine at home, no problem at all. They have even cheaper electricity than us, the big miners, because we need to apply for minor rates, minor tariffs of electricity. And if you're mining at home, you have almost like 50% lower prices, but only for small consumptions. So it even plays out better for the home miners if they want to mine. And I know a couple of people that are doing that. They have 1, 2, 3 machines at home, and they keep mining there.
Okay, that's cool. Because we want to protect that element of mining. Pleb mining is going to be a huge story over the next 5 to 10 years.
We actually yesterday we were with the Brains guys in their event, and they announced the new mini miner. I don't know if you saw that. It's a beautiful piece of art. It's wonderful tech. It has 1 terahash. Not the best efficiency, but it's just to learn mining. It's for educational purposes. So we got 10 of them, and we're going to give them to our clients, to schools, to some people to play around. And I'm a huge fan of home mining. I think that's the last instance if governments will go after mining, which in some countries I think they will, and they're already going after it. I'm a huge supporter of we need to be able to mine, even solo, even just with a fraction of a terahashes, but just keeping it decentralized, it's super, super essential, because seeing the huge guys, the public traded companies, they are having cheap money, expanding a lot of capital to miners. They are buying tons of new machines. So it's getting slowly centralized, which is something that we don't want to see that much.
Shout out to Nerd Miner and Bitax as well, that are doing a great job.
Totally.
I've got both of those running at
wonderful.
home. And they're a gateway drug. They're a gateway drug to learning more about miners. And
it is.
I have a couple of S9s at home, which I need to figure out a way to plug in, but the electricity prices and stuff are against you.
Yeah.
But okay, so when that U-turn happened, so quickly I was just at the Oslo Freedom Forum in Norway. And they're facing the exact same problem. And in fact, if you speak to Lyudmila and Bota from Open Dialogue Foundation, they're trying to get in front of politicians, especially in Norway and all across the EU, because we have this proposal for proof of work mining ban across Europe. But there is proof that if you get in front of the right people and explain to them what is going on and how it's beneficial for the company, Freudian slip, country, then they will change.
It's really many of these people I met in working within the governmental institutions. A lot of them are not evil per se. They are mostly undereducated in what Bitcoin means in general, but also what mining can do for the grid, for the efficiency of the grid, for capturing the methane, stabilizing the grid. And there are things that it really took me months and years to really grasp. And you need to see the data, because it's very easy to be very aggressive on mining when you're just thinking it's gonna burn the oceans. And just like we have the meme here on our sail, boiling the oceans. That's what the guys from Greenpeace gonna tell you, it's gonna destroy the earth and the environment. And I'm on the same side. I don't want our environment to be destroyed, but we have different approaches to that. And if you look at the data, it definitely plays out for Bitcoin mining to help us out. And the more you really dig deep and you see the agenda is skewed in a way where the huge fight on Bitcoin mining is not because of the loss of electricity or the burden on the environment, but for the burden of the banks and the currencies of the governments. So once you explain to people really these things, they start to there cannot be the cognitive dissonance. They start to either follow the agenda because somebody told them to, or they will see the facts and they will see the truth, and they will be like, okay, Bitcoin mining is good for us. And again, everything is tied down to education in the end. Like we need to explain them. And I met a lot of Bitcoiners, sadly, that they say like, if somebody doesn't get it, like they don't want to explain. I'm on the side of like, I will try my best to spend time even with people that I think might be on the opposite side. But my experience was there were people who were working for governmental agencies, for government. When they understood Bitcoin, they were like, okay, I cannot live this anymore. So they was like, fuck the government. They left their offices and jobs and they started to get into Bitcoin, either buying it, DCAing, or working for Bitcoin companies. So the only thing they needed was the education element of it. And I would love to be and encourage more educators and Bitcoiners to not be immediately like shut down by these people, but spend some time, and then you will understand if they're really evil, or if they just don't have the data.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw this tweet yesterday, but I'm sure you're aware, about a year ago, Orange Pill app started a campaign with Geyser. They put the project up there. I think the number's like 532 congressmen and women in the US. We are going to buy 532 copies of the Bitcoin Standard and go door to door. There was a team that went door to door. Matteo, Orange Pill app, was one of the teams. So was Brian DeMint. And I think David Zell and the guys, shout out to as well. I think Dennis Porter was instrumental in getting everybody together. And they went door to door, man.
Really?
Hand delivering 532 copies of the Bitcoin Standard. Now, yesterday, one of those congressmen came out on Tom Wood's podcast, and he said, I read the Bitcoin Standard. I have now proposed a bill. He said that they use the language he used, I think it's in the hopper. I guess they, I don't know, congressman or woman language.
Got it.
He wasn't expecting anybody else to get behind him. 24 people have got behind him.
Jesus, that's
already.
Amazing.
To end the Fed. That was the proposed bill.
Wow. Okay.
The
that's
power of
crazy.
Education.
Man, yeah.
This is what we're talking. And I know with your mining operations, there's a whole bigger story to this in Paraguay, which we could probably delve into. Penguin, I believe.
Yeah.
Which I saw you guys presenting at Lugano.
Yes. Yeah.
I was really impressed with that. And there was even a couple of the graduates, I suppose, for want of a better word, there to experience Lugano and meet other Bitcoiners for the first time and share their experience and what they've learned. And this, as I understand it, is taking people out of the normal fiat, public sector, whatever life, to come and learn about Bitcoin and radically change and improve their lives. So do you want to talk to a little bit about that? Like, how is it set up, the education that's running alongside the mining operations, and some success stories?
Yeah, so the Penguin guys, Penguin Academy or Penguin Infrastructure, they are doing amazing work. Like, we are partnering up with them in Paraguay. They are the guys who really build the infrastructure, the substation, the whole farm. Like, they are doing amazing work. And the story behind them is like, the founders were developers, so they had their own development company, but they were lacking good, talented people. So what they started to do academies to train new developers. And the academies got so popular that they were running monthly boot camps for 2 weeks, where they get anybody who wanted to learn how to code from Paraguay. The only requirement is that you would need to read and write. There was no previous experience with coding needed.
Wow.
And they gathered these people for 2 weeks into a huge house. The people were actually living in a house during the boot camp. It was super intense, super heavy. Some of the kids were like just crying because it was like too intense. But in the end, they were like the happiest in their life. So after 2 weeks, they had a hackathon, and some of the graduates, they got a job as a junior developers like immediately after the academy. And they were like, damn, like this works. But they got troubles to finance that. So they realized, hey, we're in Paraguay. There is a cheap power here. Let's do Bitcoin mining to finance the education works. So they started with 3 megawatts of capacity. And when it like was piling up and they had so much demand, they went to the government and said like, hey guys, we can raise the education level of our country. We can get people to get a better paying jobs. In the end, they will pay higher taxes, so the government is happy. But we can really empower these people with amazing knowledge, and they can work remotely from Paraguay for any world company. What we need from you, or what we would like to ask you, is give us a larger power contract so we can scale this thing up and we can have our own campus and we can have hundreds and hundreds of people getting through the program. And the government was like, damn, that makes so much sense. And the whole motive, or the whole motto of the company is beautiful. It's transforming energy to human potential. And it's so relevant and beautiful. And so I got introduced to Bjorn from Penguin by Alena Vranova, the co-founder of Trezor, and we immediately fall in love with each other as a founders, because we had the same mission in Amity Age. Like, we want to help. We are mining to educate. We want to help to understand sound money and Bitcoin, and we are financing it with mining. So we said, like, hey guys, like, we need to figure out a way to cooperate. So thanks to Penguin, we are able to set up our grounds of mining operation in Paraguay. We are mining with them, and they are our technical team on the ground, so they are doing amazing work, helping us with everything. So hopefully this year, or maybe next year, the sooner I learn Spanish, the sooner I can do that. But I want to go and train new Bitcoiners in Paraguay as well. So we want to incorporate the Bitcoin education into their curriculum for developers, and maybe run also the Bitcoin Educators Academy as well on the sites. So I just love the work that they're doing, and like they're amazing guys.
The two people that came across to Lugano were mind-blowing.
Yeah. I think that was Bjorn. I remember there was Bjorn, Niklas, a couple of others, and they had like a little bit higher team, but also the graduates were wonderful. Yeah. And I know the passion you see in them, like some of the graduates already work for Penguin, leading the academies, being educators, so they actually go through the boot camp and then they train the boot camp as a trainers. And just seeing this development on them is wonderful. I love it.
Now, this is what I love having these conversations with you, because we can cross many things, and now we can like jump into flag theory as well here.
We can,
which Bitcoiners love to think about and talk about. And I had Pavel Luptak, how do I pronounce his name?
Luptak, yeah,
on the podcast, talking about specifically that. How do you live on a Bitcoin standard? How do you use it? How do you exit systems? How do you travel? What are the best jurisdictions? Where are the best, in air quotes, deals, I suppose, on country residency and things like that? You've been down these rabbit holes, but you actually act on them, and you've got experience, you've got proof of work, you've verified.
Yeah.
What's the process? What's the upside? How did you do it? What's your status with regards to Paraguay? And all the good stuff. Like, leave no stone unturned there. What made you go for it?
So I knew Pavel from Parallel Polis that we set up in Bratislava, and which was kind of the first crypto Bitcoin place in Slovakia. Not the first one. Progress Bar was the first one, but we really gathered a large community inside. So I got to know Pavel, which is like Bitcoin OG guy. He was 29, 2010, getting into Bitcoin. And he was really, for me, an inspiration, because he was living these ideas of, let's pick up from the countries around the world the best service providers for whatever you need. Because we are brought up in this way where, okay, you were born here, you should die here in one place, and all the services that the country is providing you, we should like have just one service owner. But in our real life, we don't do that. We don't have one company providing us telephones, cars, cookware, ovens, whatever, right? We choose the best company for each product. Why are we not choosing the best provider for health insurance, or residency, or citizenship, or a bunch of other things that we take as granted by the government? So this really opened my eyes to the possibilities. Like, yeah, why not? And suddenly you start to look around the world and take the whole globe as your playground. And you can really realize what are the best countries to really like have a residency and all of it. And I started the process about 3 years ago, and very soon, 2 years ago, the war in Ukraine came in, and that was really, and also an eye opener, because in Slovakia we have a situation where you can be drafted into an army if you have a permanent residency in Slovakia. In Czech Republic, sadly, it's connected to your citizenship, but in Slovakia, it's only connected to your permanent residency. And when the war came in and we were just next doors, a lot of people got like, wow, it's kind of getting real and we don't know what's going to happen. So a lot of people then left and gave up their residencies in Slovakia and opted into Panama, Paraguay, or Uruguay. And why Paraguay is great for residency? This is the reason. There's something called like a tax residency, so where you're paying your taxes. In Slovakia, it is mostly connected to your physical residency, but also like where do you spend more than 6 months of a year and so on. So if you set up your permanent residency in Paraguay, and spend more than 6 months outside of Slovakia, suddenly your tax residency falls under your permanent residency, which is Paraguay. And Paraguay has a territorial taxation, which basically means you pay taxes only from the revenue generated inside of Paraguay. So suddenly you don't need to pay taxes on all your income from abroad, which kind of gives you more money that you can spend on stats, supporting projects, supporting creators, and like just really deciding what you're going to use your money for, right? So this really opened my eyes, and I went down the rabbit hole. I was like, okay, let's do it. And at the time, it was already like when we needed to move our Bitcoin operations from Europe because the price of electricity went up, the Bitcoin fell down, the war in Ukraine came in, so the power plant can turn us off any day. And we were like, okay, we cannot accept it. Like, we need to find a solution. And since I already had my residency in Paraguay, I was like, okay, let's move the miners there as well. But now you suddenly realize, okay, the government is giving you a service of like health insurance and social insurance, which basically it's a Ponzi scheme. You're just putting money into a scheme that maybe in future they're going to pay you back, but that money will be worth nothing in future. So why shouldn't I be my own social insurance and just deciding how I want to spend my money, where I want to put my money in, right? And it's possible when you unwrap this whole idea of flag theory, you start to realize that, okay, I can save my money for my retirement, I can set up a health insurance company globally, and I can choose from various providers. They don't force me to choose just one provider. I have a huge palette, and they are fighting for me as a customer. So suddenly you are being treated as a customer, not as a slave, not as somebody that need to pay and cannot choose. So this gave me a much higher level of personal freedom and much better grip on like how I want to use my money.
How often do you spend there?
In Paraguay?
Yeah.
Not that much. Actually, I go there a couple of times a year for a few days, maybe a week. I spend most of my time, like maybe 6-7 months of a year in Honduras, in Roatan.
Right.
And that's where we have the Bitcoin Academy and everything around it.
We'll get there.
Okay.
So, all right. So that's how you're escaping, for want of a better word, the 6 months like living in one spot like Slovakia.
Exactly.
Okay. So back to Paraguay. So again, I've spoken to Pavel about this because I'm thinking about this for myself, and
Perfect.
I'm sure a lot of the plebs listening to this are now they've got their minds whirring. They might have listened to my show with Pavel, but now we've got somebody that's actually done it. You get it. So you had to go out there to do the paperwork.
Yep.
Was that a pain in the ass? Can you explain, just to keep this real low-level stuff, what people might have to be doing?
It's super simple. I just paid Pavel the price for the whole package. He just asked me for a birth certificate.
In Bitcoin, I coin.
Right, Bitcoin. Yes. He only accepts Bitcoin for it, actually.
Of course.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't want to do that, I think you're listening to the wrong podcast.
Yeah.
But
Whatever. He had customers that said like, no, I don't want to pay with Bitcoin. I don't know how to use it. I will pay with fiat. Pavel said like, nope. Like, then you're in the wrong hands. And then people were like, damn it, I really want it, so I need to learn how to use Bitcoin. So he's really the guy who said, this is a service, like very unique service. If you want it, figure it out, guys. I'm accepting only the best money. Yep. I was like, that's the way to do it. So I paid with Bitcoin. We just gave him like 2-3 papers, and he will do through his people and lawyers translations, apostilizations, like all of the necessities. So you will receive maybe like a thick block of papers. You'll bring it to Paraguay. Then you have another person that takes you to 3, 4, 5 offices. You sign something, you take pictures, done. So you can have it in 1-2 days, done, and that's it. And then you're just waiting for the ID to come. And so I have a driving license of Paraguay, the ID, and the residency, of course, the address. So yeah, it's super simple process. I cannot imagine myself doing it myself. You can do that, but it will be a huge hassle. If you don't speak Spanish, it's even worse. So with Pavel or anybody else that offering the same services, it's so easy to do.
So when you do go there, you just go and you visit the team, the Penguin guys, or you're going on vacation. I'm just trying to think again, like, what would be the pull for somebody? Do people that do this, do they end up living there because it's so great? Like, what's some of the other stories that you've come across?
A lot of people go there to actually live there because the good thing about Paraguay is that it's cheap country. It's very cheap country. It's developing, but Asunción as the capital is already pretty decently developed, and you can find great spots there. One of the amazing stuff there is meat. So if you're a carnivore, if you're a meat eater, you have amazing Paraguayan steaks for the best prices. So you can have a tomahawk for like $15, huge one, like 500 grams, or even 700 grams, $15, $20 max. So the prices are amazing, the quality is amazing. So actually we're thinking with our mining operation, since the output of the operation is a hot water, we're thinking like, okay, what can we do with this hot water? Like nobody wants it in Paraguay, it's a hot country. But what if we set up a dryer for beef to make a beef jerky dried by Bitcoin mining?
We need that.
And I'm like, fuck, we need to do it. We just need to do that. Because you're already in Paraguay with one of the best meats in the world for a good price. We have the miners, we have the hot water, so we just need to put it together and plug it and just have Amity Age beef jerky dried by Bitcoin.
All right, another rabbit hole before we get to Roatan. I think 2 or 3 years ago, we were at Liberty in Our Lifetime.
Yes.
And this is a recurring theme in Bitcoin land when I meet Bitcoiners, and shout out to Fractal. I was chatting with him at dinner the other night, and a plate of meat turned up in front of him. And I know he's vegetarian.
Really?
And I said, yo, Fractal, what's going on? He's like, yeah, I'm eating meat now. I'm like, how long were you vegetarian? He's like, 24 years, dude.
Dude, wow.
I'm like, what? And that reminded me of you and the conversation that you had with Max, Elena, myself, and there was somebody else present at that time. What's that journey been like for you, making that U-turn and challenging strongly held beliefs, I guess, at that point? How long had you been vegetarian, and what was your kind of...
So I've been vegetarian for 10 years, 10 or 11 years. And the reason I got into it was the health issues. So I got like stomach ache problems, I was tired all the time, and I was like, okay, that must be the meat. So I was like, oh, let's try the vegetarian. And so from one day to another, I was like, let's test it for a month. So I skipped meat for a month, and first days were terrible. Like I was hungry immediately. I was like, that cannot work. But after a week or two, I felt so much better. Looking backwards to it, it was from different reasons. I skipped, seed oils and carbs and all of that together with the meat. So I was just keeping eating just vegetables, like random veggies.
And you're a late teenager at this time?
I was 18.
18, right?
I was 18, 19, yeah.
Right.
So I felt better, and I was like, okay, let's try to do it one more month, and then one more month, and I ended up 10 years. And I suddenly stopped thinking about food. I was okay, is it meat, is it not? So I was eating anything vegetarian. But around the time when we were talking about it, I was feeling already low energy. There was a very huge spikes on moods. So I had like really weird kind of like anxiety things. Like for a few days, I felt super kind of maybe depressed, anxious, and it was weird. It was really like, and my brain didn't work that well as it used to. I was like, I had a brain fog, mental fog, like weird things. And I remember then the conference came in Prague, Liberty in Our Lifetime, and I was chatting with you guys like, hey, I have these problems. And I think Elena and Max told me like, hey, we've been vegans and vegetarians as well. We had the same issues, plus the skin problems and all of it. We skipped that, we went to meat, and immediately it got so much better in a few days. I'm like, damn, that sounds interesting. So I've been hearing from the Bitcoin community about this carnivore, and I was always like, these guys are crazy. Like, how can you do that? Like, you're gonna die in your 30s because like overconsumption of meat. So I had all these very thick, like rooted beliefs against eating meat, right? But the thing is, I trusted you guys because I know that you're don't trust, verify, and you did your proof of work, all of you guys. So I was like, okay, I will open it up. I will listen to you guys. And then was also Pontus and Ulrika. You remember them?
That's right.
And they are PhDs in biochemistry. And Pontus started to tell me, how the body works, how everything influences everything. And I was just sitting there. There were like 5 people in front of me, and I was like just listening, like, oh my god, like, okay, this is a bigger rabbit hole than I really expected. So then Pontus started to send me links on podcasts and Saladino, the carnivore code, and seed oils and all of these things. So I spent hours and hours in planes listening to podcasts, reading the books and everything, and trying to think for myself and like separate all the mindset and all the habits I had before and to really think of it critically. And I was really expecting the carnivore code will be like a kind of propaganda for being a carnivore, but it was so based on studies and data and facts. I was like very surprised by the quality of that. And I was like, okay, let's give it a try. So they told me, like, if you want to go carnivore, you need to be like at least 1 week not eating meat and just having a bone broth. So your belly, your stomach and your gut kind of heals out, and then you can start eating meat. So I was like, okay, let's do bone broth. So 7 days I was eating only bone broth without any physical solid particles. So it was just water. And I had like the best time in my life, like such a sharp mind. I got in 7 days, I didn't have any hunger at all. So I was drinking bone broth 3 times a day, 0.5 liters, morning, midday, evening. I was running for 7 days like that.
How do you make it?
I was buying it.
Okay.
There is like a super good quality, high quality groceries we have, and they are doing like 8 or 10 hours, like very thick bone broth.
Right.
And it's already in a glassware, so you just buy that. You can combine it with something else. But I was just drinking it. I was just like heat it up a little bit, then drink it, and that was my whole breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 7 days.
So nutritious, man. And you think about other cultures, right? Vietnam with their po, or their pho, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And obviously Japan with their miso and their, the bone broth that you have in your ramen. There's a reason you love ramen, and it's the base, it's the foundation.
It is.
So, all right,
the taste and all
so
that.
this is getting cool. Because I remember we had a catch-up call because I wanted to talk to you about Roatan, and we are coming there.
Nice.
And I wanted to get over there last Christmas, I think it was, and you were shilling me like, yeah, this is where you can go, like, look this place for accommodation. You were giving me the lowdown, and for whatever reason it didn't happen that time. And you told me, you're like, yeah, oh, and by the way, since we last spoke, I'm now eating meat. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. That escalated quickly. He's like, yeah, on my back porch. Do you remember this? You're on your balcony, I think.
Yeah.
You were in Slovakia at the time. I've got a cool box full of, was it deer? Was it venison or something?
Yeah, it was deer. It was like a bag of deer that my friend, a Bitcoiner, gave to me.
Right.
We are doing some peer-to-peer trade on Bitcoin, and then together with the money, he brought me like a huge bag of like a leg of a high game or like a huge deer. I'm like, dude, what I'm gonna do with it? Like, what the heck? Like, I just became a meat eater like last week, and right now I cannot even put it into a freezer. It was so huge, man. So yeah, that's it escalated very quickly. So after the conference, I think 2 or 3 weeks max, I was already eating meat, and the first weeks I was purely eating meat. So breakfast was bacon and eggs, and during the day 1 or 2 steaks. That was it, without any carbs. And my mental fog went away, my anxiety waves went completely away, my energy got up, the sharpness of a mind. So I kind of fixed myself super quickly.
That's crazy. And Fractal was telling me the other night that within a week he was having all kinds of new artistic ideas. Really? Yeah. And now he's like, my next line of artwork is going to be like his first line of artwork that, on kind of a meat standard, I suppose. Like moving away from 24 years of vegetarianism, and his girlfriend was a hardcore vegan.
Wow!
And now she's followed him. Took her a week later. Damn! So there's something here, and I don't know what it is. I've not gone full carnivore myself. I've never been vegetarian. I've always had kind of like the mixed balanced diet, I suppose. But meat every day, that's a thing. And being British, I like my bacon and eggs in the morning.
Got it.
You can't stray away too far from traditions here. But yeah, anyway, we love going down the food rabbit holes, health rabbit holes. Roatan, this is where I was coming to, because that's where you went across. And I remember actually I met Luke just yesterday. He's the CFO of Prospero.
He is, yeah.
And I said, I had Eric Bryman on the show. He's like, oh yeah, when? I looked at the list on my podcast. It was February 2021.
Yes, it was super early, man. I think
really
you were the
early.
first podcast that was interviewing Eric. I think you are.
For sure. And then it kind of went quiet. I didn't really hear much again. At that point, they were thinking about property rights and governance and perhaps messing around, introducing their own token sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which certainly turned a lot of people off the idea.
Yeah.
But that never happened. That never came to be.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know, you're out there like, we're out in Roatan, we're out in Prospero. Pontus and Ulrika are out there and buying apartments and things. And
for Bitcoin,
and you start Amity Age over there. Well, the Bitcoin kind of education center.
Yeah.
Dude, you're doing so much and you're still only like 31. This is what I love about it. And
Thank
by
you,
the way,
man.
ex-champion sailor, I might add. So, why Roatan? What happened? What was that path? And what can you help the plebs with if they were thinking, right, I want to get over there. What's like the residency kind of permit thing? Perhaps they don't understand what Prospero is, the ZA and all of that.
Mm-hmm. So Roatan for me, just like Paraguay, was like a huge coincidence. Like it really came to be out of nowhere. How it started, one of our minor clients, my friend Robert, started to send me pictures like, hey dude, you need to come here. I'm like, what is this place? And it was beautiful, beaches, palms, very nice place. He was like, it's Roatan. And I'm like, where is it? Like, is it Asia, Africa? I had no freaking idea. Like, where is Roatan? He told me it's Caribbean, so it's great. I'm like, okay, that's nice. I want to go there. But then he told me, but it belongs to Honduras. I'm like, Honduras, let me Google it out. And it's like the most dangerous country in the world. I'm like, I don't know if I want to go there. Like, Robert, is it safe? He's like, yeah, it's perfect. Like, just come around. So we flew in, and he even told me, like, hey, you wouldn't believe, but there is a Czech village on Roatan. Right now we are recording in Prague, the capital of Czech Republic. I'm like, what the hell are the Czech guys doing in Honduras on the Caribbean island? And they have a village there. The story is connected to beer, Czechs are the biggest beer drinkers, so why not? So they built a brewery years ago, it was running, then it got bankrupt after some years, but they stayed there. And they said, like, what are we gonna do here? And one of the crazy guys who set up the brewery was like, hey, so Roatan used to be this famous pirate island, but there's no pirate ships around it right now, so let's just build one. So he flew to England, he flew to, I think, London, to some museum, and there was like a sketch of the original Black Pearl. No. So he took the sketch and he built the copy, the replica of the Black Pearl ship. And it was the largest ship at that time in Caribbean, the original pirate ship, and they were roaming the islands for a few years. Then somehow it got decommissioned and it sunk on Roatan, so it was crazy. And then they were like, okay, what else are we gonna do here? Let's start building. We are good builders, so they started building houses and they created their own village. I was like, okay, I just really need to see that. Like, this is crazy story. I need to come around. So I took Diana, my girlfriend, Gabriel, and his whole family, and we flew to Roatan. We spent 2 weeks, and the place is beautiful. It's covered 85% of palms and jungle. It's a beautiful island, second largest coral reef in the world, so beautiful water, wonderful nature, nothing that can kill you, right? Not like in Australia where something's gonna kill you. So it's a safe place. It's West Caribbean, so there's no hurricanes going around. So it's a very geographically safe place. And it's super safe compared to mainland Honduras as well. But I was like, okay, it's a nice place. Maybe I will come around sometimes. And 2 days before we left Roatan, I was just randomly scrolling Twitter, and there was something like a Prospera Summit happening. I'm like, what is that? I opened the link, and there was something like the future of cities, crypto-friendly jurisdiction and very futuristic. I'm like, I don't know, man. I saw these Satoshi's Islands. I'm very skeptical. It's some shitcoinery going on. I was like, okay, but I'm here. Let's check it out. Because the summit was just in 2 days. The summit was actually on the 1st of April, so I was like, this must be a really joke. And I was expecting like 5 people on the beach having fun. But I came there, and there was this building already built, like the Duna residence coming up, the Beta building, like beautiful co-working center in the nature. I was blown away. And there were like 60 people, Bitcoiners, and some of them were like OGs from 2010. There was a guy who was actually running the first talk show that ever spoke about Bitcoin. And he was interviewing Gavin Andreessen, one of the OGs. I was like, damn, like I want to be around. And we had the opportunity to present some ideas that we would like to develop on Roatan. I was like, well, I'm an educator. I love Bitcoin education. I would love to have a Bitcoin education center one day. So I pitched the idea, and there was Eric sitting in the first row. I had no idea who he is. He said like, hey man, what are you doing in the afternoon? I'm like, well, I'm going to snorkel with my girlfriend. He said, okay, before you go snorkel with your girlfriend, let me take you to a building. If you like it, you can start building your Bitcoin Academy there immediately. You can even name your rent, and I'm gonna help you out with that. I'm like, what the heck? And he drove me to the highest viewpoint of Roatan, a beautiful building that used to be a school before, but they moved to a larger place. And I just fall in love with that. And for 2 hours with Eric, we spoke about libertarian ideas, we spoke about Ayn Rand, and all of these things that really matters to me. And I want to be around these people, these builders with the same values. I was just like, I was sold at the time, immediately. Then I came to Diana and told her like, hey Diana, can you imagine, living part of a year in Honduras? She was like, what the heck? So we had a conversation about it, but in the end she was like, okay, let's try it out. So basically, a huge coincidence changed our life, and right now we're staying more than half a year outside of Slovakia, mostly in Roatan, 5-6 months in Roatan in a year, and we start building the center. So right now, we have the academy. We onboarded more than 60 businesses to Bitcoin, the best steak place on the Roatan, restaurants, cafes, tattoo studios, car rental companies. We are doing regular Bitcoin academies for kids. We work with schools. We have Bitcoin ATM, and really like trying to build the community there. Because when we came, there was nothing Bitcoin happening there. But being in Prospera, giving us all this freedom to do business, we are like, it's a super low bureaucracy jurisdiction. You can run your company on Bitcoin right now. It's the first jurisdiction where you can do Bitcoin as unit of account. So you can have actually your whole accountancy in Bitcoin. You don't need to exchange to fiat anymore. You can pay your taxes in Bitcoin. So when I pay my taxes, it's just 1% of your sales. And the platform just asks me, so, okay, how much you made this quarter? I just type in the number. And he said, okay, so here's 1%. This is what you're going to pay. Do you want to pay with card or with Bitcoin? I said, Bitcoin. I just click the button, see the QR code, pay with Bitcoin, done. 3 minutes, tax is paid. I can focus on education or just enjoying the place. So suddenly doing business is so easy. You can focus on what really matters to you. You can focus on what you love. And the jurisdiction treats you as a customer. They want to help you out with everything. You have a onboarding person that will get you through all the things, like how it works there. It's opt-in, so you need to sign in the declaration of co-living. And what is beautiful on that as well is that never in any country I find this out. Once you signed the declaration of co-living, you're basically signing also the tax burden. So if for any reason in future the taxes will increase, not for you, because you signed an agreement with Prospera and they cannot unilaterally change it for you. But if the new tax regime will be beneficial for you, you can sign the new one, you can opt in. And this is the same analogy with like Bitcoin and updating the nodes. Nobody can force you. You can run the old rules, but if you want to, you can update your version. And this is, for me, this is the partner relationship with the government, with jurisdiction. Not that they can choose anything and it applies for you and you cannot have anything to say to that. but suddenly you're a partner to them. You can, you are treated as a customer. And this was for me so refreshing that I was like, I just want to be around, man. That was why we decided to be there.
God damn it, I'm sold. It's so heavy.
Man, you need to come. You need to come with your family. As Czechs in the village are saying, like, Caribbean is not for everybody. It's a special place. Some might love it, some might not. It's the island, so it's an island life. But for me personally, so far actually, I cannot imagine staying full year.
Right.
Right.
But you don't have to because you have fuck you money.
Exactly. But Roatan gives you really a place to come to, meet people with the same mindsets. Everybody moving to Roatan, they are the people who are running from countries with huge oppression, like also Canada, US. Yeah. So the expats you are meeting there are the people who are going for freedom. And these people, when you meet them, it's like so freaking refreshing. You have like your own freedom bubble in one island. And also the piracy thing I love about it, I'm wearing an eye patch right now. This is our merch that we have here. But so Roatan used to be one of the most famous pirate islands. The Captain Morgan was living there, Captain Black Bear. So one of the most famous pirates were using Roatan as their hideouts. Actually, till this day, there is a Fort Morgan Key, which is a private island that belonged to Henry Morgan. You can still find till this day a wall that he built. It used to be a gunpowder storage. The wall is still there. You can go and check it out. And around the island, you can still find some old pirate coins, pirate bottles, old cannonballs, and some sunken ships around. And this is the best part, man. The island belongs to a Bitcoiner. He's right now willing to sell it for Bitcoin. He really wants somebody, a Bitcoiner, to get it. And it's a private island. And right now the price, the last time I asked, was 150 Bitcoins for the island. So kind of a lot. But the island is a beautiful place. It protects the best protected bay in the whole Caribbean. That's why Pirate loved it. So this whole history of piracy, I just fall in love with that. I just read a book recently called The Invisible Hook. Do you know that?
No.
Man, you need to read that. The Invisible Hook is a book about the economics of pirates.
Yes.
It's so freaking fascinating
how
because they operated in an environment where they couldn't lean on government, on police, on army. They needed to resolve their own disputes themselves. There was no hierarchy, so the captain can change 10 times on a journey based on the respect and based on like the proof of work and all of it. Like, it's a freaking fascinating book. And one thing I learned as well from that book is, like, do you know why pirates wear eye patches?
Well, the normie answer would be because they had an eye injury or an eye had fallen out, or they've got a scar over there, and
that's exactly, that's the normie answer, but it's not true.
Right.
And I learned that, and the truth is fascinating. So by having an eye patch, you're always keeping one eye in the darkness, so your eye get used to darkness. When you're, for example, fighting, and the fight immediately got under the deck where it was a super dark, suddenly they just flipped the eye patch on the other eye, and this eye was immediately ready for the darkness, right? So it was like pretty brilliant idea, being ready, being flexible, being immediately, ready for every situation. And I realized that there is an analogy with Bitcoiners as well, because we Bitcoiners, we are learning about Bitcoin daily. We are going to conferences, meeting new people, meeting new Bitcoiners. We are getting this Bitcoin mindset. And maybe we're not using 100% of it right now, but we are being ready with one eye on when the shit hits the fan, when we really need to use the Bitcoin knowledge, when we need to leave the country with our fuck you money, we can. So we just flip the eye patch and we are ready to live Bitcoin. And I was like, this is like, it's perfect connection. So that's why we were like, we need to do these eye patches, we need to bring them here and just tell people what's the connection with this.
You need to upgrade the eye patch.
Tell me.
To have a little laser on it.
Oh, okay.
Then we've got the full circle with the analogy with the laser
with
eyes.
With the laser eye, exactly.
So and Sailor was talking about the laser eyes this morning in his slideshow. I do remember actually somebody at Liberty in Our Lifetime gave they were probably referencing this book. I'm going to have to pick it up. Did you see the talk he was giving?
I didn't see the talk, but I spoke with the guy after. He was one of the Seasteading Institute, I think. And we spoke about the book because I just finished the book a couple of days before the conference, so I had everything in my mind. And I was so freaking fascinated by the book. And he was like, dude, like, you really read it? I'm like, yes, I read it. I was just, yeah,
And
we talked about
I
that.
remember something that stood out for me in that presentation, and I haven't read the book yet, but it was opt-in, right? The pirates all signed.
Yes.
And then you're at sea, you're at that ship, you're in. It's not a social contract.
Exactly.
It's a contract that you have opted into. And of
Exactly.
course, some of them couldn't even write, so that's why you have the X as the signature.
Yep.
Yeah,
Totally.
lots of cool stuff there.
Exactly. And the beauty of that as well was, of course, pirates were not doing the most honest thing most of the time. But what was interesting was that a lot of people, a lot of sailors became pirates from the Navy first. So they were under the Navy, and the Navy was super oppressive because there was a captain that nobody can change. So he was very coercive. He was very violent towards the crew, and that was one of the biggest reason why there were a lot of pirates, because they were like, I love sea, I love being a sailor, but I just cannot stand being under this oppression regime. And on the boats, they had like a huge freedom, and they could earn their own respect. They could become a captain very easily if they were really like skillful, and they were treated as equal, right, as partners. So they were like having shares and all of it. It was like a small floating company with stocks, right? So like, read the book. Also to listeners, like, guys, like, if you like piracy, the book will blow your mind. It's wonderful.
Mutiny as well, right? Was one big thing there as well, because the captain couldn't be a dick.
Yeah, exactly.
Or he's walking the plank.
He was a skin in the game. Like,
Right.
It was something like he was removable. And this element of being removable, I think, is something that's missing in politics a lot.
Absolutely.
And the politics, they don't care about that, because, nobody can. It's very hard to remove them. Even if there is a huge scandal, and in Slovakia it happened many times, people were forcing them, hey, step down, and they were like, nope, I will not. And people are like, okay, there's nothing else we can do. So, and this mutiny thing, that there was a threat, yeah, they couldn't be a dick. So many things were by the voluntarist approach, by the free market approach, and we can draw so many conclusions out of that.
Yep, cool. I love these little analogies, these rabbit holes that we get taken on all the time. Back to Roatan, I was shilling Luke, the CFO of Prospero yesterday, who I met. I was shilling him on the idea of a golf competition whole coiner challenge, which was the first ever whole coiner challenge, was at Bitcoin Atlantis.
Wow.
Really well received. And I'm like, come on, man. You've got a golf course right there.
It's
in
a beautiful
Prospero.
one, yeah.
Beautiful golf course. And you got the beach. And you got all the amazing seafood and meat. And, unfortunately the brewery closed down, but I'm sure there's lots of great...
there is a new brewery. This one closed down like 15 years ago, like a very long time ago. But right now there is a brewery actually that belongs to a Bitcoiner, and you can pay with Bitcoin for the beer. They are doing amazing, freaking amazing beer. The guy is one of the best entrepreneurs I've ever met, and right now the brewery is going to be part of our Pirates Bitcoin treasure hunt across the island. So you need to solve some clues and puzzles in the brewery, and you can receive some sats. So the brewery, there is a beautiful one, and you need to see that when you come to Roatan.
You got the steak houses, you got the lobster shacks.
Yep.
What's not to love, man? Like, oh God, we're coming.
Definitely
and
come,
especially
guys.
if there's going to be a golf tournament out there, and we can get like a little Ryder Cup feel going on, pit the Americans against the Europeans and whoever else. Everybody's welcome. But
Totally.
The education push that you're doing there. I remember the last time you shilled me one of your next schemes was to educate educators.
Yeah.
And bring them to the co-working space in Roatan.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great idea, because the idea of, look, yeah, we can educate the next generation and blah, 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 that's brilliant. But, and then in theme with this conference, leveling up existing Bitcoiners' skills, freeing them of the imposter syndrome, which they are crippled by.
Yeah.
I see it everywhere. When I suffered it myself before I started the podcast. So I'm very sympathetic to that. But to empower and enable these people with the tools, like over like a couple of weeks, overcoming objections, all of that kind of stuff. Talk us through that, and whether you're going to run another cohort and how the first one went. And I'd love to know how that's going.
Yeah, Bitcoin Educator Academy is something that I'm super passionate about. And we set up a huge mission in Amity Age, and that is like we want to welcome 100 million people in the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Why 100 million? First of all, I want it to be such a huge number that I need to think differently about it. And the other is like, we want to onboard as many people as there are sats in one Bitcoin, right? But thinking about that, I was like, okay, it's impossible that we can do it alone. We don't even want to do it alone. And I want to help new Bitcoiners that love education to really get down the rabbit hole and become the best educators for their own communities. So that's how we came up with the idea of Bitcoin Educator Academies. And I used to teach public speaking before, train the trainer academies. So I just connected one passion, that's educating and training, with Bitcoin, and this is what came up. So what is Bitcoin Educator Academy? It's a 3-day, very intense program from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., sometimes even longer. And you're really getting into like what it means to become an educator, how to level up your public speaking skills, your education skills, how to deliver the knowledge more efficiently, handling objections, as you said, using analogies to explain things easily. So all of that, it's not like about like what is Bitcoin thing, it's leveling up your game of how to transfer the knowledge in an easier manner. Because I know a ton of Bitcoiners who are amazing, either developers or like very good with technology, but sadly they cannot communicate it well. They will throw on you all this knowledge and somehow you got stuck. The newbies are like, okay, that's too much, I cannot handle it. And that's sad, even if they would have a little bit of social skills or like the delivery skills, it will be so much better for everybody else. So we started that and we piloted the first version in Slovakia. So we decided that we're not gonna bring everybody to Roatan first because it's kind of might be expensive. So we started with the local educator academies in various countries. So we piloted in January in Slovakia, full 12 people. So we had everybody, and we even had like demand for 18 participants. So the maximum is 12 because it's very intense. 12 people there, loved it. We piloted the first version. Then El Salvador, amazing. We did Czech Republic and we did Hungary as well recently. And right now we will be doing end of June Lugano and beginning of the next week after that Malaga in Spain. So this year we focus on the local individual educator academies. Next year we would like to actually maybe have like a second advanced version for the ones who went through the first, or even have something larger with a couple of tracks. We can deliver maybe for 36 or 48 people. So yeah, I would love to really help educators educate in their own languages, to set up podcasts just like you did, to have a YouTube channels, go to schools, deliver Bitcoin diplomas from Me Premier Bitcoin or anything that they feel passionate about, but do it for their own culture because they know how to do it best for their own communities, right? If you have let's say, American channel or US or European, it's very hard to understand the situation in Argentina or Asia and to deliver it in their own way so that they understand the thing, right? So I'm a huge believer of like decentralizing education and distributing it and bringing new educators into space. I would love to, speed this up.
I'm behind you. Whatever you need.
Man,
my time, my energy, I'll even fly out to any one of those cities that you mentioned if you need help.
We can do one in England or wherever. You're going to live right now in England.
So that's an interesting part of my journey. Actually, yes, family reasons and whatever else, just things are pulling us back to that part of the world. So yeah. I'm now. I'll be 48 by the time we move back there, and I would have lived outside of the UK for 25 years.
Damn.
So that's going to be we're moving to rather than back, in my view,
Got it.
And I've lived in a foreign country 8 years. So ever since I found Bitcoin, I was either in a different country because we were bouncing around for 3 years, or in France. And it's very difficult to get your message across in not your natural tongue. I'm always blown away by you guys, how you are so, adept with the English language. It's incredible to me.
Thank you, man.
British people, English people, I suppose because, network effect, consensus all kind of like dropped on the English language, we were, it makes you lazy. That's why we wanted to live in France so our kids could speak another language. Now,
Perfect.
I can speak French.
You can or you cannot?
I can.
You can. Okay.
But
perfect.
I can't speak, like, you want me to go deep into, like, economic theory and debunk MMTers and, help you understand Austrian economics in my non-native tongue, in French? No.
Yeah.
I can't make that kind of penetration there. So
Makes sense.
one thing I am looking forward to is to be more focused within the local communities. When we get there, I'm already in contact with them, and help support them and raise their profile, use my voice, get them on the podcast, whatever else. Connect with other pockets around the UK, because there's brilliant work being done. The Bridge to Bitcoin guys are doing incredible work. Well, Peter, what he's done at Bedford, that's going to be a 3-hour drive, but we'll watch games, we'll do the meetups and everything else. Like, it's going to be awesome. So I am looking forward to that. Come on over, man. Come on over and do one of these, like, 3-day. We'll do it in the town wherever we end up, and I've already got hundreds of ideas, but I have now a very good contact with the hotel owner. Mm-hmm. So now we already have a venue.
Perfect, man.
I just have to orange pill them first, or I can explain Musket to them. I don't know if you saw Musket have now dropped in the UK.
What is that?
Handheld point-of-sale machine.
Oh, wow.
Which accepts Visa card, MasterCard, and Bitcoin.
Nice.
But it accepts Visa card and MasterCard at a lower level fee rate than anything else on the street. So you're undercutting straight away.
Nice.
And you're enabling that merchant. You're saying you're ready. You're already Bitcoin ready. Well, no one's going to pay. Well, don't worry. You're already ready. So if somebody does come in, then you're ready to tap it. And,
Wonderful.
And you're paying 1% less than you're paying before. So it's better for your business. Or
Perfect.
It's going. It's happening.
Damn, I didn't know that.
I'm looking forward to be a part of it. So
wow.
I'd love to have you over and run one of these 3-day things.
Totally, man. And the problem I had so far, because I wanted to do it in Paraguay with Penguin guys, but they said, like, hey, people here, they don't speak English very well. Can you do it in Spanish? I'm like, nah, and my level of Spanish is probably maybe as you in French. I cannot go into deep stuff in Spanish. I would love to, hopefully next year. I will get there. But training another trainer to train it in Spanish, it's kind of like much harder even for me. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I need to focus right now on communities that speak English. But it was hard. For example, when we did it in Hungary, some people were like excited to do that, but they were like, sorry guys, like, we cannot speak that well English, like, we cannot do that.
Yeah.
So the same in Spain. A lot of people told me that there are a lot of Spanish speakers. The French, the same. Like, they don't speak English too well. So the long run of the project, the long-term vision is I want to bring Bitcoin educators to educate the Educators Academy. So it's like layers on top. And my colleague Marek here, who's on operating the stage, is our first educator that I'm training to deliver it as well. So we can distribute and decentralize, and then I want to get a couple of ones that speak Spanish fluently as well, so that we can cater to multiple communities. But doing it in England, I think the burden or like the obstacle of language is eliminated immediately, and the community already is there, like, well developed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think, like, I would love to come, man.
And there's a lot of international people living in a country such as England, like London. So
that's true.
You might have Spanish, French, Hungarian, Bulgarian, whoever, who have been living there, who can come and speak the language and learn it, and then go out and translate it and do all that. And so it's another layer of your educators. Enabling people to go and educate in their own language.
That's true,
it's
man.
huge.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think about it before, but it makes so much sense. And like, it's a nice, easy connection there as well. If somebody wants to fly in, it's super like a melting pot, a lot of cultures around. So let's just plan it.
Yeah.
Daniel, let's just, like, after the podcast, we need to find a date.
I'm down. All right, man. Well, I know you've answered this final question a few times in the past because you've been on the podcast already, but I still have to ask it. If you had one last orange pill left to give to somebody, who would you give it to and why?
Oh, man. Who would I give it to? First ideas I'm getting is my father, but he's already getting there. He's already receiving Bitcoin for his fig gems. We have a huge fig tree that he stole like 20, 30 years ago in Croatia because he fell in love with figs.
Yeah.
And he was like, I need to have one. So right now in our garden, we have like a huge fig tree, and there's like hundreds of kilos of figs a year. And he's doing gems. And I told him, hey man, like, let's sell it because we have so much of it, and let's sell it to Bitcoiners as well. And he was like, well, okay. So I set him up with Phoenix, and he was receiving, sets for fig gems. So he's already on the way there. But we always have discussions and arguments regarding, if government should have all this competence that it has. So I want him to go that direction as well. But having the orange pill, my sister is helping us here on the stage. So she's orange pilled. My mother is stacking sats, so she is orange pilled. Diana, my girlfriend, is helping out. Her salary is in Bitcoin. So who would I give it to? It's a hard question. I would say some influencer, but somebody in education space who is a great educator of non-Bitcoiners. Maybe some like YouTubers that have like huge audiences of people who are kind of prone already for freedom things. I don't know. Maybe Mr. Beast. If I think about that, like, he has a huge audience of young generation. And I think the young generation is foundation of our future. Sadly, there is a huge propaganda of the generation from the wokeism and like the left-leaning things. So him being orange-pilled and understanding the beauty of that, I think that can create like a huge ripple effect, utilizing his platform and getting a lot of young generation into understanding what's happening with our money, what's happening with governments and society. So that's kind of maybe what I would do, because my whole family is already orange-pilled.
Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast.
Bring the noise.
Yeah, bring the noise, and we'll teach you.
All right, man. Love it. Really enjoy it. Always sitting down with you, and this has been a special location as well to do this. It's nice just to sit down and check out of the madness for a little while.
Totally, man.
And
It's
have
like
this conversation.
Totally, like to opt out a little bit from the noise and then get back to all this craziness and amazing conversations around as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, Daniel. It was a pleasure, man.
Perfect. Thank you guys down there.
Thank you, Leah, for all your work. It was amazing, man. Loved it.